everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Introduction to Microeconomics at Ozarka College. Today what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of feedback on the Chapters 7 and 8 activities that I finished grading yesterday, and then I'm going to tell you what we've got coming up for our Chapter 9 activities later this week. Okay, so the first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the Chapter 7 and 8 activities yesterday. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and look at your grades for those activities. Read the grading comments and let me know if you have any questions at all. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. If I did have to count any points off, especially on the assignment, I tried to be very specific on why I was counting points off, what you missed and what the correct answers were. But if somehow I didn't do that on some of those, just let me know, and I'll be glad to explain that. Also, there were some common errors on the assignment, or common problems that some of you had with answering some of the questions thoroughly and completely or accurately. And so what I've done is I've created a couple of separate videos that I've already posted. In fact, they're right here under week 6 on the activities page. There's one that's called Chapter 7 and 8 Assignment Review, which covers production and cost. And then the Chapter 7 and 8 Assignment Review Utility Analysis, which basically is where I explain the question on the assignment that dealt with the law of diminishing marginal utility, and also the relationship between marginal utility and total utility. There were some of you that had a problem fully explaining that. And so those kind of concept-related questions, those kind of open-ended questions on the assignment that a lot of you had problems with, or a good number of you, I went ahead and created those 2 separate videos to kind of explain what I was looking for in the answers to those questions. Now, there were also some problems from the textbook, some calculation problems that you had to do on the assignment. And I haven't created a video for that yet. I'm planning on doing that either later today or tomorrow morning. So be looking for that. It'll be posted under week 6 with the other assignment review videos. But basically in that video, what I'm planning on doing is just showing you what the correct answers were for the problems, where you had to make calculations and so forth. Like there was one problem where you had to calculate the marginal utility per dollar for a couple of products, and then determine, with a particular budget in mind that was given to you, you had to figure out what the consumer equilibrium point was. And so a lot of you did that correctly, but there were some of you, a handful of you, that had some issues with doing that. And so that's why I'm going to create a separate video showing what the correct answers were. Okay? All right, so be looking for that. And let's see, the discussion that we had for Chapter 7 and 8 that dealt with the economies of scale that McDonald's uses in its restaurants, I thought that went extremely well. I really appreciate everyone's participation on the discussion. So keep up the good work on the discussions. I really enjoy reading everyone's comments. And if you look at the discussions, really what they're meant to do is to kind of take at least one of the concepts that we're learning about in those particular chapters and look at a real world situation where that concept is important and that concept is used. Okay, so hopefully you got something out of that discussion. You enjoyed it. I know I really did enjoy it. So keep up the good work on the discussions. The Chapter 7 and 8 objective tests, most of you did well on that. Just as a reminder, you can take those tests as many times you want to up until the due date, and your highest grade is automatically recorded. So keep up, or just kind of keep that in mind for future objective tests. Now, that brings us to what we've got coming up due for our next set of activities. So, Chapter 9 activities are due by Saturday, September 27th. So, Saturday of this week. So, you've got just a little under a week to be working on those and getting those submitted. Chapter 9 is the first of basically 3 chapters that cover a particular type of market structure. Okay, as we'll learn in Chapter 9 and the next couple of chapters, market structure is basically how we categorize a particular type of economic system that a business operates in. Okay, and you'll learn about the characteristics that are used to kind of define different market structures and so forth. But there are basically 3, or actually there are 4 market structures. There are 2 that are on extreme ends of the market structure spectrum. One of those is perfect competition, which we're learning about in Chapter 9. And then there'll be a chapter that covers monopoly, which is at the far other end of the extreme end of market structure. And then the 2 that are in between those 2 extremes, somewhere in the middle, are monopolistic competition and oligopoly, which kind of share characteristics of both perfect competition and monopoly. All right, so now a lot of the stuff that we learned about in Chapter 7 and 8, we're going to be applying to Chapter 9 and also the next couple of chapters after Chapter 9 that deal with the other types of market structure. So kind of keep that in mind. So, for example, in Chapter 9, we're going to learn about, of course, the perfect competition market structure, but more specifically, how short-run and long-run decisions are made by firms that are operating in that type of market structure, in perfect competition. A lot of the concepts or terms that we learned in Chapter 7 and 8 will be used again in these chapters where we are learning about market structure. For example, marginal cost, total cost, average cost. Those are things that we'll continue to look at when we're looking at how firms make decisions in perfect competition. But we'll also introduce some new terms like marginal revenue, total revenue, and average revenue. All right, because in order to determine the profit maximization point for a firm, whether it's in perfect competition or some other market structure, we have to not only look at the cost side, but we have to look at the revenue side as well. Okay, and so that's what you're going to be learning about in Chapter 9. All right, and one of the things that we're also going to be continuing to look at is this basic relationship between marginal, total, and average values. If you're not already familiar with that and comfortable with that relationship, you need to make sure that you study that and let me know if you have questions about it, because that basic idea of how marginal values relate to total values, how those marginal and total values relate to average values, those are extremely important concepts to understand in order to study how businesses make short-run and long-run decisions. All right? Those things are very, very critical to understand. Okay? So, if you have questions about that, just let me know. But other than that, I'm just going to let you work through, start working through Chapter 9. Let me know if you have questions. And like I said, be looking for that other video probably tomorrow, where I will show you all the correct answers for the problems, where you had to make calculations on the last assignment. Okay? So enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend, and I will talk to you again sometime probably early next week. Thank you.